Welcome to another episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. And this is sponsored by and produced by CVC Success Group. And we do this in order to provide managers, business owners with processes, concepts, ideas, things that can help them move forward to get to their dream destination. So today, hey, we got a pretty interesting topic. And I'm going to be honest with you. As we go into this, you're going to hear some different opinions because one thing about this group is we don't agree with everything. So as you listen in today, you're going to hear some different ideas, different concepts. But I'm going to ask you a question first. Do you ever get any emails that says, hey, I can increase your calls dramatically. We can bring you 100, 200 more leads a month. Or, hey, let me go in and work on your SEO or other such offers to magnify your marketing. Now, first of all, a lot of these are simply hype. Every time I turn around, I probably get 5 to 10 emails a day from some firm that wants to take over my website, increase my penetration. And I'm sure that it's the same thing that each and every one of you get. You see this. Or maybe you're scrolling down through Facebook and you see some guy that's running a marketing company or a gal, and they're saying, hey, let me handle this. I can increase your calls dramatically. But here's the question. Let's say it works. Let's say that your calls did increase dramatically. And all of a sudden, you've got 100, 200 additional leads every month. Then the question is, what are you going to do? Are you simply paying more money to just make people mad because you can't service them? Or do you take other steps? And that's what we're going to talk about today is the steps that you can use this for. Also keep in mind, just last week we talked about the shortage, the drought of workers. And in today's world, marketing for new people for your time, for your, for your employment on your team is a big, big part of things that we need to talk about. So let's go forward. Let's see what comes out of this group today. Should your marketing match your capacity or should you over market? And if you do, what's the benefit? Because also you got to keep in mind a company that's doing $10 million a year is certainly going to have to market a whole lot harder than somebody that's doing less than $1 million a year. It's a simple matter of numbers. You've got to draw more leads in the bigger that your company is. Also depends on what is a lead worth to you? Well, how much is it peanuts or can a lead bring you multiple thousands of dollars of business? It's all part of the process we're talking about. So Randy, I'm going to call on you first this morning because as we went into this discussion prior to going live, you had some definite thoughts about this. So what's your thoughts when I talk about matching your marketing to your capacity?
I think it is a very sensitive topic that you have to just track all the time, right? So tracking how many service calls you can handle and how many leads that you can receive. And honestly, we do want to receive them and treat them well and not just like ignore phone calls, ignore emails because we're too busy. But most of the time when I speak with people, I say to them, increase your marketing because your marketing for leads is no different than your marketing for labor. The more leads of either that you bring in, the more selective you can be about either the work that you perform or the laborers that you bring on, employees.
That's it. And it's a interesting thought because it came up to me the other day and I thought of something. Back 30, 40 years ago, hey, the only place we really marketed was the Yellow Pages, maybe some newspaper ads. And today, now there are vastly so many ways to market and let people know about who you are and what you do. So Cheryl, what's your thoughts on this marketing versus capacity?
Well, first of all, I'm going to do a little segue from Randy. Um, I don't think most people have a clue what their capacity is. I think they have, I think they assume. And like he said, the biggest thing is you've got to do your homework first. You've got to figure out what your capacity is. then match it with your marketing dollars. And if you get more of one, you need more of other. You're going to have to hire more if you've got more. That's just the way it goes. Now, the one good thing, I know this will be seen all times of the year, but we are in the first day of September as this going on, and the people that are coming in have tripled, well, actually quadrupled in the last week. The resumes coming in are much stronger, and there's more of them. So this is a time people need to sit back, figure out their capacity. Once they get their capacity, figure out how many people it takes to do it, and then figure out how much marketing it takes to get you there.
Got it. So, Josh, what about you? You know, you've been responsible for both a retail operation and also a service business, and now you're going into the coaching, the consulting work. That's going to become your next endeavor. So, what's your thought on marketing, my friend?
Definitely. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Oh my God.
Oh Lord, does old age hit you, young man?
No, I have notes, but
It's that orange car in his brain throwing him off right now.
it's be able to measure your results. That's a big one. Have software that tells you where your phone calls are, what markets they're coming from. Be able to drill down on where your customers are. That's a big one. Tracking where your leads are coming from is a big one. We've done like Yelp. That's a big one. People think, well, Yelp's such a big force. When I advertised with Yelp for a 6-month period, they don't actually have the search results for their cost even per view was outrageous. So knowing your numbers there, okay. And then we tried Bing for a while, and their cost per click or even cost per view is extremely high. So knowing those numbers is extremely important.
Yeah. And Chuck Royhouse put in a comment here. The secret is controlled growth, knowing your target client, your job cost, your pricing, and having systems in place to service current workload and additional work to exceed their expectations. Appreciate your comments there. So, Randy, one of the things that when we were talking back before we went online here a few minutes ago was that if you had an overabundance of leads, what would you start doing from this? Would you cut your marketing, or what would be Randy's process as an entrepreneur to take advantage of this?
So I would cut my list of services before I would cut my marketing. So at one point, we used to have 15 services that we offered, and we found that to be most efficient, we started narrowing down, obviously, the best return on investment for each service, the best, like we talked before about floor plan and work vans. How do the services set up your work trucks? What's the most efficient, right? We're trimming waste. Last thing I'm going to do is cut marketing, because marketing brings in the customer flow. So as a service-based business, specifically for us, we don't have a high return, meaning, someone cleans their air ducts, we're going to see them in about 3 to 5 years. So it takes a long time to build up that just residual. So for us, it's a constant chase for new leads. So that's the last thing I would cut. Now, when you've already cut back on the services and you have the right floor plan and you have the scripts and all the stuff is right, the next thing naturally to do is to start raising your prices. If you have too many leads, you raise your prices and you let the customers say no to you even before they reach you, which I think people will disagree with me on, but it's okay because we're not the coupon company, right? So we'll list all the things that we're certified in or the services that are included, and then the price point last, because we're looking for the customer who understands that. And typically you find them as not a needle in a haystack, but maybe a push pin full of needles, but you can find them if you really consistently market. If you just say, hey, next week we might be slow, let's turn on an ad, you're already too late. You're already way too late for that conversation.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, when you look at it, even though you're not in the chimney business, you've been around it enough. You got a really good friend in it, and you've seen it. And what's getting ready to happen over the next couple of weeks is the majority of companies in this industry are going to go into tremendous backlogs in the next month. They're going to become 4, 6, 8 weeks behind. And to be honest with you, we also see this whenever this happens We see a failure to people to follow up on leads. We see a failure to follow up on sales proposals. We're busy. And then we see it roll in January. The calls start dropping, and all of a sudden, panic stricken. And it's just like you said, it's too late to start dealing with it. I mean, right now, my advice is you need to be looking at your marketing plans for the wintertime right now, months ahead of time.
Something we do as a strategy, and I don't mind sharing this strategy. We'll be starting right like as soon as after Labor Day is done. It seems like everybody pulls their boats off the lake and turns their furnace on. That's when everybody thinks they need their air ducts done immediately. Now we'll take the leads for sure, right? We'll take the job load. But what we'll do is we'll just assess the customer. Are you moving into a new home and there's smoke and allergies? They have to be on the roster. Have you been in the home 20 years? How about this? Currently, this is our price point. If you go into January or February, here's the discount or here's an incentive so that we can build up our lull, not say no to more people and not have to like just try to chase, you know?
Yeah.
So the strategy there is to just assess your customer. If they've had their chimney cleaned every year, offer them an incentive to wait to January and February, because it really, you know, that the safety factor has been at least mitigated once in the last 12 months.
Yeah, which is one of the things behind the concept of moving every fall customer into a spring or summer or winter customer and getting them out there. So one of the things was I asked my good friend Taylor Hill the question, and you know, so Taylor, I appreciate you giving us this, and he said this: there are things in marketing that you can turn off and others you can't unless you plan way ahead and let certain things fall off the radar. What can you turn off? Social media ads, Google AdWords, unless you have a signed ongoing contract, which I do not recommend. Listen to that from a marketing guy that sells his services. Having these on when you need business is good. Having them turned off when you can't serve the customer means you are paying to upset people. What can you slow down? You can also put posts on your GBP that are booked through X to reduce calls from that point form. And if you want to fall off rankings, then plan on cutting your SEO off for 6 to 9 months before the busy season. Know this, that if you do that, listen carefully. If you cut these things off, realize it could take 6 to 9 months or more to get those ranking backs. So if you want to stay competitive, Taylor's advice is keep your SEO going, keep your website and GBP optimized. When it gets busy, you turn the things off otherwise, such as your Google ads, your Facebook ads, and all those type of things. So again, that's from a marketing person that when you turn the Google ads off, guess what? Their service fee drops, but he's telling you to do this. I mean, what you want, let's say. But Randy, go back again. How would you know, one of the things I heard you say during our discussion was this is an excellent time to raise rates. And that's something I've always told people. Whenever you get to, and I use a 2-week backlog, Randy, that's kind of been my rule. When you get 2 weeks behind, your prices go up X number of dollars. If you know, and you keep doing this, and this is what the travel industry does. This is what hotels do.
Hotels. I was just going to say hotels. That's where we got it from, was in our real estate conversations with the hotels. Prices fluctuate based on availability, right? Like on supply and demand. So it's no different in our businesses. You know, it should be no different at all.
Yeah, even in the real estate industry, you're going to see prices fluctuate. In the springtime, a house will probably bring a higher price than it will in the fall months. You know, that's the things to look at. Cheryl, what about marketing for recruiting people? That's been our subject matter recently. What's your advice if you know about recruiting? Because a lot of people think, hey, I've got everybody here now, I'm fully staffed, so let's stop marketing, let's stop interviewing, let's do all this. What's the downfall of this?
The problem is the good people could get lost. You know, I always tell everybody to have at least one person they don't need. I mean, make a place for him and move on. Because once I shut down the ads, then just like the marketing stuff, before you can get back in a spot that you want to be, you've fallen down. So I recommend, and this is what I tell all my clients, leave them open instead of looking for just the B players. We only look for the A plus player. And then you can replace, we all have low hanging fruit. Every company has them. And you can replace your low hanging, or you can scale up a little bit, take on more. And like Randy said, he doesn't stop his marketing. So you're going to be getting more jobs. So if you get another employee and you have the equipment, meaning trucks, whatever you're needing, if you have the equipment to service with, and you have more employees and you have more leads and more business, you're doing nothing but bettering your business. My thing to say is just don't scale up too quickly.
Yeah. And my thing is, you just said it. You called it low hanging fruit. We're going to call it non productive people, people that don't fit, people that need to go to work somewhere else. Everybody's got these. And that's one of the things you're marketing for is A grade player or an A plus grade to replace the B and the C players on the team. That's what sport teams do all the time. When you look at it, they trade somebody off over here to go for this superstar. They may trade 3 to 5 mediocre players for one superstar to get them out there. So Cheryl, how about this? Am I on track about the recruitment marketing?
You're on track. I want to hear what Randy started to say.
Well, I was going to say, I'm sure Josh and we've actually talked about this, I think 2 shows ago. It's not just low-hanging fruit when it comes to your employees. It's low-hanging customers. And it's awful for people to hear business owners speak like that. But we all know there's a customer or two that you wish you never worked with. And the more you market, the better you can assess these customers ahead of time and not even bring them into the fold, So this constant marketing, just constantly marketing for both of the new customer and also we find that nowadays, like you said, Yellow Pages back in the day, we used to send postcards, like reminder postcards, right? Mm-hmm. We don't even do email blast reminders because our marketing is so strong that our current customer base sees those ads and calls us. So it's just constant run the marketing.
I think one thing is the awareness, and maybe that's not the word to use, but it's the awareness of what you have got going on in your business, how you're going to treat your customer. And then if you're treating your customers right, you need to have a realistic expectation that you're going to tell your customers. If you're 6 weeks behind, they need to know that. They don't need to sit there and wonder. So keep the customer abreast, keep your employees abreast, but you've got to always be aware. This is not something you can stick in a bucket and hope it works.
Right. And, one of the things we've often professed is that you got to become a community expert in what you do. In other words, Randy, in your case, you're the duck guy. Okay. This is what you look for. Or in the case of the Basement Waterproofing Company, you're the experts. You're the guys I go to. And in order to have that brand awareness, you have to be continuously speaking to your customer. And, your community is the people that buy from you and may buy from you. But you got to keep this speaking. You got to keep going out there. You got to keep your name in front of people. If you don't, they're going to forget about you. Let's face it.
Quick.
Right. How memorable are we as human beings? How do we stick into it? Think for a minute. Can you remember the name of the last plumber that came to your house? I can't. What about the latest guy that serviced your HVAC? I can't remember his name, to be honest.
Looking for the sticker.
That's it. So you've got to keep doing that. So Josh, have you got your thoughts back together? You got any additional input into this subject?
Well, part of that is we were talking about, not leaving customers on hold. You can take looks at your phone system, how that manages your calls. Do they go into a call center? Do you need office help? Just to even tell people, temporary office help, to say, hey, we're booked out. Because, like Randy said, you don't want to leave them wanting, I'm not important enough to get a return phone call. And people will, and of course, they never check their voicemails this day and age either. So we'll look at doing text messages and other things like that to call people back.
Yeah, well, it's like, we interviewed a few episodes ago, we interviewed the folks from Chirp, and we are seeing some, I don't know how to say it, some extraordinary results from the people that are putting these new systems together and the way the customer today. Again, it goes back. Hey, 1980s, you worked in a service truck, you'd see a little sign on the side that said, find us fast in the Yellow Pages. And who in the world directs anybody to the Yellow Pages anymore? I built my business on when I started in the service business. Our number one form of advertising was the newspaper. We found that the obituary page was our number one page to put our ads back in the early 80s because
What are you talking about?
everybody looks at the obituary pages. I can remember,
Everybody in your market, your age group that you're trying to go after. That's okay. Yeah.
it is. My
Yeah.
grandmother used
So-
to, 10 o'clock every morning, she used to listen to WGTL radio because every morning Ladies Funeral Home ran the obituaries for the community on the radio every morning. And they played this organ music in the background. And my grandmother's, the house shut down because it was time for the WGTL obituaries.
I think all our grandmothers did that.
So here's what's interesting, right? Is that so if your market was the older generation, I really truly believe our market is new families. So for us specifically, they're buying their first or second home, like as an upgrade. They're more attentive to yearly services and maintenance agreements. We love those customers, especially when they're having new families and young babies, because we're hoping that's a 25-year customer. And it's interesting when we talk about that, like when people are nervous about marketing or over marketing, you have to ask yourself, are you running your business or are you growing the business? Because if you're running it, fine, dial the marketing back, keep your repeat customers, very predictable profits. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're growing a business, everything has to be on the forward move. That's how it works.
Interesting. I know that came out. That was a really good thing right there. Are you growing a business? And if you're going to grow it, means it's scaling, it's getting larger. Is that correct,
Right.
Randy?
Yeah, you're either running it or building it, and there's no wrong answer. There's wrong things to do in those lanes of traffic, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just running a business, maybe you don't want as much marketing as the next fella, and that's okay.
Gotcha. So Cheryl, any final thoughts on this topic today?
Well, another one that comes up is to optimize your processes, because once you optimize your processes and you can work more efficiently, you can gauge your capacity more. You've got more capacity there just by getting things done more efficiently and quicker. So you can actually open up your capacity there. But my thing is never quit marketing and never quit hiring. That doesn't say run them at top speed all the time, but never stop.
Okay, so Cheryl, I got one question. When you got a good prospect who has contacted you, do you sit on it or what do you do when you got this good prospect? Tell people how many prospects get from inactivity, please.
Quite a few. I'm very quick on them, but once I get them to someone, they assume that these people are going to sit there and wait on them and that they're the only company out there that's hiring. And many, many times have they, okay, I'm going to call John back now. John's gone. If he was good, if he was in there and his resume was good, he was a good person, he interviewed well, he's gone.
So I just wanted to put that in. When you have prospects, no matter if it is a new recruit or a new customer, move on it. If you don't let a lead sit there, when you have a lead, go after it. You've got to pursue it right then, right there. Josh, any closing thoughts from you today?
No, just I will tell you one of the last good prospects I had, Cheryl knew I was on vacation, said, you need to call this guy today. Physically called the phone and told me, but no, it's just knowing your dollars and tracking where your leads are coming from is the biggest one. If they're coming from Google or your local, I have always had good success with the local pages, the local websites, getting in there, the local local little news sites have always done really well for me as well.
Okay, sir. Randy, what about you? Closing thoughts out of Randy.
Closing thought would just be as simple as this. Marketing isn't everything, but it should be one of your processes that you are not slowing down. You're just doing like Josh said. We're going to document it and track it and see what works best so we're not wasting money. And then if you find yourself with increasing leads, there's a few different steps in your business you take, which are somewhat relative, like raising your price point. That allows you to hire better employees, which then begets probably better return service to your company, better reviews. Naturally, you grow. Go back to that other thought of either you're running your company or you're building a company. That will tell you the size of leads that you should be chasing. So when I say to somebody, are you running a company? You may receive leads. If you're building a company, you're going to chase the leads. But you can't do it without tracking. So just like Josh just said, track everything, document everything, and by all means, communicate with every single person there is. There are multiple. So we also own an RV park. People will reach out right now and say, hey, what do you have for Labor Day? I don't ignore them. Even though there's too many people telling me that they want to commit, we just copy and paste. Thank you for checking in. We're fully sold out for the season. Ignoring them is just like rude, right? It's not good for business. And maybe next year I'll be open. Like I'll have an opening. So you don't want to just turn people off. So I think that with marketing has to come communication.
There you go. Well, listen, we appreciate you tuning into us today. If you're listening live, we appreciate you being here. If you're listening on the replay, hey, that's fantastic too. If we can help you here at CVC Success Group, reach out to us. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if we can help you turn those business dreams into your business and personal realities. And with that, we'll see you next week on the next episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Thanks for joining us. Have a fantastic